Hey people, it's that time of year. Don't forget the girls at your local nudie bar, because that's what Jesus would do. And not only that, but even in the red letters, they say he said he ratted out Moses too. And this is tripping. I found this. I was looking for a word that they say means who, and I found it come up here getting sandwiched between eunuchs 3 times. Eunuchs who eunuchs. Eunuchs who eunuchs. I knew that would explain that word a lot. So I went to look at the paragraph to put it in perspective. They say it's what Jesus had to say about relations, when you could divorce. And then he read out what Moses did because of the hardness of his heart. And then it goes into this teaches of celibacy. And this celibacy is 3 different ways you can become a eunuch. And saying it starts out, all this departed and gone to and places, this is all tells what time, what planet was in what set of stars. This tells you what time it was. And then it starts with, have not you read that he who made them at the beginning made them male and female? And every time it says that, you have to watch that, because that's andro and genus. And when you put them together, it's androgynous. And then it starts talking about girls working the stripper pole and girls working the light pole and girls posting it. It's all girls, girls, girls. And then over here, it's more girls and turn the men into girls too. And so I had to check this out. So this word I was looking for when I found this is hoidiness. And I was trying to figure out how they get in who out of hoidiness. And anytime the N comes before the E, I pronounce it as a V anyway. And this is actually where your word of vasectomy comes from. And it's in these 3 ways to create a eunuch. And his, H-I-S, his in a jar. The masculine part, him, his in a jar. Then cut his nuts off and put them in a jar. And the EU, who and now she. He was a man, but who now she. Feminine. The X, the OI reading is an E. The OI reading is an E again, ET. It of IV a sec. It of a sec. And then the second K reading is a Y. And a jealous, J-E-L, and the IA reads as a U. And a jealous mother has the gene, and the second N reading is a J, and that's a jettison, to throw out, to throw overboard. The gene to throw overboard. And so what it's talking about is you had several wives. You were allowed 1 wife per day of the month. But if one of the wives wanted to make sure that her son was the heir, she might give of a sec, for the eunuchs who from the womb of their mother know not their mother, of one of the other mothers that give them of a sec. The gene, a jettison, to get rid of that gene, to jettison out as. But this is a poet playing with these words. It's the same place, your word that the in, his injure, his injury, and nuts, is usually N, U, and the other X. But whose now is she is the wind, ouchie, that hurts, to his in the jar, who in ouchie. And so the ouchiatives, it could be a prefix or a suffix. It's where your word natives comes from. It can follow a verb and creates nouns from verbs or those type of people, those tivs. You have like a suggest and a suggestion and a suggestive, a verb, a noun, and an adjective. But it can also, be a prefix to the one that's happening, the tivs, and the one that got it, and it of a sec, the one that got cut off. It of a sec. The Y-E, the J-E, or the Y-E, the Y, that yell was. The yell was better as the gene jettison. Jettison out as. And so mother comes spelled a lot of different ways, and this looks more like the metros, the mother city. And his in jar, who now she, it of a sec. A jealous mother has a gene jettison. A jettison out as. And like I say, that made me curious, so I had to look up and see where this was all coming from. So it starts out here with this time. It's real easy at the beginning, then it gets real difficult. And King James interprets it as, and it came to pass when had finished. But what it actually says, and you can see it real here, the T-O-O-T. The two to tell is in. The two to tell is in. When had finished is the two to tell is in. And you don't see as much here, but this G, I believe this reading is an N. I ain't figured out exactly when they change it between the G and the N, but I know it's between vowels usually when it turns into an N. And so this is when, W-E-N-E-V, when of toot tell is in. When of the toot is tell is in. They only toot when the job is finished, when it's time to go home. And of yes ofs to us, logos, so it says. And yes meaning love. Yes ofs to us, loves of to us. We loving it that it's time to go home. So it's meaning the end of a cycle. And so it goes through the time there, and then it says, and this Pharisee come to him and test him, saying, is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife? Just any reason. But this word for divorce, it goes on through here a good bit. And divorce is a bad interpretation. And so a better one would be a policy. And so a policy, is coming from a many say, and a policy, we're going to write a contract. And it says, any caveman ought to know about how to write this policy. The ode of Apocryphs. And when it gets down here to line 7, 8, and 9, you'll see it come up several ways. But it's the base word is the policy. A policy oughtn't. And so this line 7 starts with ledges in, and he says, and ledges of in ought to tie on, your own, and mouses. Mouses is the beginning, so it was at the end, and your own beginning. The mouses of entile it to, is giving you permission to take command of entile to. A towny vival, survive, to live, a vivalion, a towny vivalion. And what they do in the towns is they sell ass to make it through the famine. And some of them, they're vivalion a post as you, to hang it on a post, to put your note up. Hey, bed and breakfast and piece of ass, is what the girls often did. And the policy of then, and written in the contract. And ledge they of this Adam. This is where you heard Adam, like Adam and Eve, A-T-I-M. And Adam of says. This is what Adam said. And Adam is a pimp, and prostit. And prostin, and forced in, in view of. You see this Moses come up with the pros often. Most of the time it comes up, it's usually before, and it's a promotion. But, to put in view of thee, the prostin, a prostitute, the prostin, and the hardness of the heart that got hold of Moses, that is because she had the skiller. She was a skill, a rock hard wind. She had the skill of making you rock hard. Hardness of the cock, not heart. The skill of rock hard. I-A reads the U or W, Vav, when I'm on. The skill of rock hard when I'm on. If a trips in. If a trips if a trip's in 'em in a policy it has to go nake as 'em on. And these arches here, these are tits, and hap. And hap, they are a chest, the chest of a jig of in out, the jig of an out as. And I say to you, and legit 'em in, Audi as on a pole used in, Audi as on a pole used in to go naked, the double A, the first one reads as a Y, to go naked out of, what you ought to do is go naked. And much, the exception is sometimes they say this is no, and they'll change that, but it's much. And much hippie porno. The porn who, the PORN, and the EIA reads the EU who. And the much hippie porn who. And the game, she alien. I tell you the double consonants are, the second one's an I, and this is a good one here, the ALIEN. Is an alien, not from our town. And the alien, and then Moshe Day, and that sounds like a French word for whore, and that's where it comes from. But it's actually, it's a mispronunciation of an English word that is pronounced, the M is pronounced M, and the O-I is pronounced as an E, and the H, the X is a CH. It's from each a day. Everybody gets a turn. Everybody gets a day, whether commits adultery. Each, from each a day. From each a day. From each a day. And the games, she alien from each a day. Alien from anybody. And these marks here say that this wasn't Jesus' words. This was added in later. You see it at both ends of this. And of a pole illum, the POLELUM, to the light pole. Back in the day, you used to have light poles out in the city, and prostitutes would go out there at night and lean against the light pole so they could be seen, and that was where they would play their game. A pole illumin in a games as, the GAMESAS, the games as, and marries, the games as, from each a day. And so this word for the wife, or the gina, it changes up. It'll change up at the end, and sometimes you don't see it, because when the I comes up to the A, then it becomes a vav. But it's the ginacy, and it's the wife is, sometimes it is the wife, it's, the one who has control of the gina. She owns it. She is the ginacy. And the call yet has the day of the ginacy, and hasn't been there yet, hasn't joined yet. And is on day the two his a Yorkum, the Yorkum win. And York means to keep, to Yorkum, to keep 'em when, and asked how, AST, that's how we say ask in the South. And asked how Letty. And Letty is short for the toilet. It's where everybody had to go every day, and it's where all the writings were happening on the crap's right, the crap on the wall. And asked how Letty is in a two all your sorts 'em. One of each type, and two all your sorts 'em of own. At the own it has, and so this S here is usually sin, where they bring together, but this is a J now, and it's a juvie. A juvie's who is in. And so that's what unites it together, is when you get to screwing somebody and you have a kid, a juvie's who it's in. And the roof has much the chores it too. You've got children united together, and there's holes in the roof. It's that time of the year and the roof has much chores it too, and ledges of zen, and so they say, ought to tie on mouses have entitled it to. A towny vively on a post has you, and a policy oughtn't ledge they. Of this oddie moves is forced in, a skill a rock hard when on. If a trips in, if a trips in a policy it has, the Ginus has 'em on, of the arch chest of jigovin out as. Lee got 'em in. I say now to you, got 'em in. Audi as on a pole used in a gynacy of two. Gynacy ought of, if it's got the double A, this first one reads as a Y, and that's when it's a gynacy. When it looks like a gynacy but it's followed by an A, it's not. But, on a pole use the gynacy, that's a pole dancer. That's a strip dancer. She shall divorce. She's a single mom. And odd of much hippie porno. Back about 5,000 years ago, they used to con these girls into getting naked and making flicks, I guess, in the hippie porn of the hippie porno. The hippie porn in EU who. And the game she alien from each a day, and of a pole aluminum in the games as from each a day. And so what Jesus is saying is, during the time of the season, in order to cut out the middleman, just go on down to the strip club and give your donations straight to the single moms. They're a lot better with money than government or religion, and they'll make sure it all goes to single moms to see that their bastard kids have a good Christmas. And I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.